Welcome to One Thought at a Time, where we get curious about what makes us tick. I'm here today filming live at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, and for the first time, I think with a small live audience in the background as well. No applause, please. And sat across from me today is an extremely talented artist who brings motorsport alive in a way I've never seen through a canvas. Welcome, David Johnson.
Oh, thank you. It's lovely to be here, especially at the Goodwood Festival of Speed.
I know, what a place.
Yeah, first time as well for me. So, my eyes are wide open, taking everything in.
Fantastic. Well, we'll jump straight into it because for those who aren't aware, tell us what you do now.
Well, I'm a motorsport artist, and I'm fresh off the back of my British Grand Prix exhibition at Silverstone, and I'm lucky enough to go to quite a few of the F1 races and exhibit and live paint, and that is a snippet of what I do.
Yeah, and I think what would be good is just give people a sense of, because when you say motorsport artist, that can mean many, many things, but just describe a bit about how do you create what you paint?
Yeah, so I mainly use a palette knife. I started off with the fine art, but one painting would take close to 2 months to complete. But with the palette knife, I have so much freedom, and I try and capture a moment in time on canvas. And for me, I'm a huge motorsport, especially Formula 1 fan. So I hope my enthusiasm for the sport is captured within that moment. And the energy that comes with using the palette knife is one of my key features with any piece.
And the nice thing, I mean, when I've looked at some of your work as well, I mean, it's not just a painting of a car. It's a moment in time on the track, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. And I do find towards the end of a painting, I get a little bit slow because I'm taking all the shapes, because I could just look at the F1 cars, especially what's on display here at the Festival of Speed.
Yeah.
I'm just in awe of the designs as an ex-design technology teacher myself.
Right. So let's actually go there for the minute. We'll come back to more about the art, but tell us about the journey. How did you end up being this artist who travels around into these amazing different places with F1? How did that happen?
Well, it was initially, if I go right back to the roots of at school, anything I could make within a design technology lesson or an art lesson, I would always focus it on Formula 1. And then when I left, I'm a big fan of motorsport artist Michael Turner. So I was, in my spare time, I was creating art, trying to copy his style. And I love his style, and it's very easy to see early on. You can't do that. And I found my own style with the fine art brushes. And that evolved, and I was focusing on developing my skills. And then I contacted Sir Stirling Moss, because at the time, it was quite accessible to find his phone number and address,
right.
Incredibly, to what we find today. But I sent my letter off to him, and then it must have been 2 or 3 days later, I had an envelope on the back, had SM printed, and within it was his phone number, and we just discussed what he wanted me to paint, and he later on signed a run of prints, and that's what really boosted me. And it was lovely that at one point I had a break in my art career when I was teaching, because I was a teacher for 15 years.
Right.
And I took 70 kids to his house, as you do. And it was at that point he said, you need to get back into this. And I put everything into the next piece, which was capturing his 1961 Monaco Grand Prix victory. From there, pushed hard with the art, and it gained the attention of Sir Jackie Stewart and more drivers. And then I jumped to the palette knife.
Right.
And that was about 7 years ago, and it just boomed. I was invited to the British Grand Prix ball, and as they say, the rest is history.
Oh, that's amazing. So what went through your mind when you got a reply from Stirling Moss?
Well, I think back, it's such a magical moment. I mean, me and my dad, we've gone to events and we'd queued up hours to meet him. So to have this response. But what was even more powerful was going to his house, pushing the buzzer, and then he's opening the door. I know it's his house, but you just don't expect Sir Stirling Moss to be there. And then we'd have coffee mornings. And yeah, I'd go back quite a few times. But it's the time. I think back and I'm amazed by the time he actually gave me. Whereas today, there's a lot more people in the way of the drivers, and it's harder to reach out to them. So yeah, I'm very grateful for what Sir Stirling Moss did for me.
Now, so I've got to be curious here. So what kind of age were you at the time when you were writing to Sir Stirling Moss?
So that must have been about 15 years ago. So early 20s.
Early 20s. So going through an education system, how did it? Were you encouraged to try wild, outlandish things, or what? Was there something you thought, well, I'm going to write, and would people have said, what are you doing that for?
Yeah, it's interesting really looking back, because I didn't go to university to study art, so it's all self-taught. But my passion developing my skills was watching on telly and as I say, looking at the works of Michael Turner and other artists. But with Sir Stirling, because I'm a big motorsport collector as well, as you'd know if you saw my collection, maybe a little bit embarrassing at times, but I love collecting autographs, and I know with Michael Turner he released driver signed editions, and I had to give it a go, and it was such a thrill having him sign his signature, and you could read every word of it, every letter of it, as later on Sir Jackie Stewart was mentioning to me, he prides driver signatures on being able to read every letter. So for me that was a big moment that I'm very proud of.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what then happened next? So you then got invited to go along to F1. So then navigate the journey from there. How?
Yeah, so my first British Grand Prix, I had one marquee, and as I was a teacher at the time, I remember there was tables being thrown away from the canteen, so I turned those into stands for my artwork. But it's funny, I was having a conversation just last week. You don't know who's going to be watching you at any time, so I always try and put everything into every event I do and every piece I do especially. And funnily enough, although I've been at Silverstone now painting since then for about 7-8 years, from that very first exhibition, the organisers of the Australian Grand Prix saw my work. So a few years ago, they reached out to get me over there to paint for them. So it's just incredible, really. And that has been the mantra for every event since. You've got to make sure everything is in place. It's the best outcome that you can achieve. And it went from there. So I was invited to the Monaco Grand Prix. Yeah. Unfortunately, as I was a teacher at the time, they wouldn't give me cover. So I thought after 14, 15 years, I should go full-time. And my work, since going full-time, evolved. I could spend all day and every day on a piece, and I was able to achieve the outcome that I was striving for. So more detail, more vibrant pieces. And again, being invited to these places. So this year I'm off to the US Grand Prix.
Right.
To paint there, and I've linked with Williams, so I'm doing some special projects with them. So I do feel I'm living the dream at the moment. But events asked to go all over the world, and it's just incredible.
I mean, just hearing you say, so there you are, you're a school teacher, and you get invited to the Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah.
I mean, what was going through your mind?
I remember telling all the students, and at the time they were thinking, no, that's not true. And it's lovely to, just last week at the British Grand Prix, have an ex-student, stop by my exhibition, calling out Mr. Johnson. I hadn't heard that for a long time. And just amazing. But I mean, as I say, being a huge Formula One fan, you get the goosebumps. It's just an incredible feeling. Yeah.
Do you think, by making the journey that you've done and by moving from being a teacher at school to doing what you do you think you've inspired maybe some people?
Yeah, I do actually, and it's lovely to see people come back to my stand at Silverstone and actually show me their son or daughter's work. And actually, it's quite funny with me and my journey, and as I said, with Michael Turner, I went to one of his exhibitions and I showed him one of my sketches from the early days, and he gave me some encouragement, and that's what I try and do. And it's lovely that when I went to the BRDC a few years ago to exhibit, he was there, and I told him about this. So I do try and push people as much as I can, and on the odd occasion give out a palette knife or paintbrush, and try and push them to try new things.
Yeah.
Because I feel it's a lovely thing, even if it's not a career, it's a lovely thing to do. It's a very proud moment seeing a creation depicting something you're passionate about.
I suppose it's not only that you're pouring your passion onto it, but you're creating bits of history, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah. So, it's incredible. Last year, for example, I captured the winning Ferrari of Le Mans, and that was actually before the race. So, a lovely benchmark of things to come. This year, I painted Lando and Max side by side. Started just before their collision a few races ago. So, but no, these are memorable moments. And what was lovely when I did a painting for Lando recently, he mentioned when he looks at the painting, it brings back all those emotions and feelings he had throughout that race. So it's lovely to hear those from people that have my artwork.
That's why, when we started and you said I'm a motorsport artist, that's why I say there's so much. This is deep and rich, isn't it? Because it isn't just a picture of a car. And for Lando to say that it brings back the emotion.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, what next? What's the dream?
Wow, there's a few things on my bucket list. I mean, this year I ticked one of those off, and that was meeting Damon Hill and getting him to sign work and doing a little bit of painting. I've got a few things lined up with Williams and the drivers where we're trying to get them to do the same thing. But I suppose one of my top things is I'd love to paint onto the car. I've done a few helmets for drivers, which hopefully in an upcoming race they'll be wearing. But yeah, the car would be the ultimate. I can't think of anywhere else from there, really.
So to actually paint an F1 car?
Yes, yeah, onto the car, and then they'll create a wrap, because obviously the paint's very thick.
Yes.
And then race in that livery. That
would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, David, I am sure that will happen. If not now, then soon. I've got to finish, if I may, with a question that I ask most of my podcast guests, and it's an amazing journey. If you could conquer time travel, and you could write a note to the younger David, knowing what you know now, what do you think you might write to yourself?
Not to sound too cheesy, but it would be just follow your passion. Because I honestly, I know I sound really sad about it. I love Formula One, and I think that has fueled everything I do. It gets me closer to the sport. When I was a teacher, I would be taking students to Silverstone. We build petrol cars, and it's following your passion. Whatever you get into, if I don't become an artist and I get closer to Formula One, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
So that would be my message.
Fantastic. David, it's been an absolute joy talking to you today. If people want to find out more and see some of your art, how can they do that?
So the website is www.formulaart.co.uk.
Great. And I guess on all the usual social channels as well?
Yeah.
Great stuff. David, thanks ever so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
So this has been One Thought at a Time with Ian Travers, live from the Goodwood Festival of Speed. Thanks for watching.